Good afternoon. Today is Thursday, January 21st, and this is a meeting of the Virginia Redistricting Commission. I'm Amigo Wade. I am the acting director of the Division of Legislative Services, and the division is charged with providing staff support to the commission. Just a couple of quick reminders, because this is a virtual meeting, and this is for anyone that wants to speak. Please keep your microphones muted until you're ready to speak. This, of course, improves the quality of the audio and helps us to keep track of things. Always state your name before you speak, especially if you're making a motion. This helps us to keep track of things. Any votes will be taken by giving a voice vote, aye or nay, and also with a thumbs up or thumbs down. I just want to make a very quick comment about public comment. Registration for public comment has been closed. As I said, we have about 15 people that have signed up. For the public that is listening, if they want to submit public comment, they can also do that. If you go to the agenda, we have a listing for the website. It is you can send the email to varedist@dls.virginia.gov, and that comment will be posted on the division's website. So with that, I want to go ahead and start with the introduction of the members. And what I like to do is to start with the citizen members and do it in alphabetical order. So I'm starting with you, Mr. Babachenko.
Yes, and just a brief introduction.
Yes.
Okay. So first of all, thank you, fellow citizen committee members and legislators. My name is James Babachenko. I'm 37 years old. I live up in Fairfax, Virginia, but I've had the opportunity to live in grade school in Grundy, went to high school in Richmond, went to undergrad at UVA, and then followed my brothers up to Northern Virginia. So I love Virginia. I'm really excited about working with each and every one of you. Some of you I've met before, some of you I look forward to working with. But this is just a really cool thing that I think we're doing. And I think we're sending a message to the rest of the country that we care about one person, one vote, and our democracy. So I'm super excited. So very nice to meet you all.
All right, Ms. Babachenko.
Hi, I'm Mackenzie Babachenko. I am not a native Virginian. I'm from Ohio originally. I'm 37 years old. I originally started working here we lived in Virginia Beach. I worked in Portsmouth, and now I'm a prosecutor up in Hanover County. I've been doing that for about 10 years. So I'm also very excited to be here, and I think this is very exciting and look forward to working with everyone else on this project.
All right, Mr. Feliciano.
Good afternoon. My name is Joe Feliciano. I live in Fredericksburg. I am also not native Virginian. I'm a transplant, originally from Michigan, served 20 years plus in the Marine Corps. I retired in Virginia Beach. And when I retired, the wife and I decided that Virginia was home, and we have come to love Virginia. I'm very excited to be here. I love this opportunity because we all want the same thing out of this commission: fair votes for everybody. And that's why I'm here. I want to make sure that everybody in Virginia has an equal voice. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Gilliam.
Yes, I'm a native, lifelong Virginian. I've lived all my life in southwestern Virginia, Wise County and Washington County, except for 4 years I spent in Charlottesville at UVA some years ago. Looking forward to serving on this committee a great deal. By way of what I did, I was in the mining industry, and my brother and I sold our company about 10 years ago. So I've been essentially sort of semi-retired since then, and looking forward to serving on this committee and trying to come out with some drawing an impartial set of maps.
Thank you. Mr. Carroll. You're muted.
Okay, I'm Rick Carroll, and I was literally born 300 feet from where I sit right now. And except for 10 years in college and the Army and UVA Law School, after I passed the bar a number of years ago, I immediately, a few months later, went to truck driving school and decided to be a recovering attorney all these years. But I had a small tank truck company and sold it about 4 years ago. So I'm in retirement, and I've read all of the applications from all the rest of us. And I'm very much impressed with everybody's motivation. And I'm sure that some way or another we can work together and for the betterment of the Commonwealth. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Harris?
Good evening, everyone. I'm Greta Harris. I have the pleasure of serving as the president of the Better Housing Coalition, a nonprofit that does affordable housing in Central Virginia. I am from Danville, Virginia, and lived there, grew up there, and moved back to Virginia after living in New York and Philadelphia in the early 90s, and have dedicated my life to trying to provide opportunities to lift up people in places that haven't always had full access to opportunities across the board. I am honored to be on this commission and look forward to working with each and every one of you to ensure that Virginia is as just and fair as it can be for all citizens. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Hutchins?
Yes, good evening. I'm Brandon Hutchins. I am a lifelong resident of Virginia. I was born in Richmond. I grew up in Chesapeake, and I've been a resident of Virginia Beach for about 16 years or so. I served 11 years in the United States Navy. I've been working in healthcare for about 22 years now. I'm currently employed by Anthem. My wife and I have got a small hair salon here in Virginia Beach. And I'm just looking forward to doing some great work with you all on behalf of the Commonwealth.
Thank you. Mr. Kumar?
Thank you. Good evening. Also a lifelong Virginian, sitting around 300 feet from where I grew up in Alexandria. Studied government at UVA, then law school at the University of Richmond. Clerked at the Arlington Circuit Court after that, and was in private practice for a few years, while also serving as a voter protection attorney, volunteer in Virginia. Then I, at age 31, joined the Army JAG Corps and went on active duty for 7 years, working as a prosecutor, and then some overseas assignments, including overseeing the safety of the elections in Afghanistan in 2014 as an operational law lawyer. Then moved to the reserves a few years ago. Went back to UVA again to get my MBA from Darden while serving the reserves and working for Gartner, where I currently advise clients in corporate strategy best practices. Great to be on this important effort with all of you.
Thank you. We'll now move to the legislators again in alphabetical order. Delegate Adams.
Yes, hello everyone. My name is Les Adams. I represent the 16th House District, which is Pittsylvania County, Henry County, and City of Martinsville. I'm a native Virginian, native to Southside, live in Pittsylvania County where I was raised. By profession, I'm an attorney. Was, like Mr. Kumar, a graduate of the University of Richmond Law and a law clerk in Danville. When I first came out, I was in prosecution for several years, then in private practice, and then recently returned to prosecution. I've represented my neighbors here in the House of Delegates since 2014 and have served on the Privileges and Elections Committee over the past few terms, and look forward to working with all of you. So thank you.
Thank you. Senator Barker?
Yes, hi. This is George Barker, state senator, representing parts of Northern Virginia, Alexandria, Fairfax, and Prince William counties. My background is that I've got an undergraduate degree in economics and public health, a little design your own major thing to combine those two, and then got a master's degree in health policy and management at the School of Public Health. Moved to Northern Virginia in 1975. And have been there ever since. Worked for the Regional Health Planning Agency, involved in whole host of things in the local community in Northern Virginia. Got elected to the Senate in 2007. And have been working in the Senate on a wide variety of things ever since getting elected. I did in 2011 I headed up the redistricting that was done for the Senate districts in Virginia for the last decade, and then also worked with a couple of other legislators in 2015 in putting together a map on congressional districts when the court had said that the districts were unconstitutionally racially gerrymandered. So extensively involved in these types of things. I am a numbers person, which is how I got doing a lot of these types of things. And I was a patron of the resolution that became the constitutional amendment. And so proud to have gotten that done, and glad the voters have voted for it, and that we're all here together to do what's good for the people of Virginia. And I'm thrilled to be a part of the group here.
Thank you. Senator Locke.
Hello, I'm Mamie Locke, and I represent the 2nd Senate District, which covers parts of the cities of Hampton, Newport News, Portsmouth, and part of York County. And I am a native of Mississippi, but I'd like to tell people that I've been in Virginia longer than I lived there. And I graduated with a bachelor's degree in history and political science, and I also have a master's and PhD in political science. I teach political science at Hampton University, and I have served as a member of the City Council and mayor of the City of Hampton. Came to the General Assembly in 2004 and been here since that time, and was actively engaged with the redistricting process with Senator Barker back in 2011, and am certainly looking forward to engaging with each and every one of you in this process. As we do, again, what's in the best interest of the citizens of the Commonwealth in doing fair maps. So thank you very much, amigo.
Thank you. Senator McDougal.
Thank you, amigo. Appreciate you putting this together and getting us all as a group. Ryan McDougal. Was born and raised in Hanover, and is where I currently live. My legislative district goes from Hanover up to Spotsylvania, down the middle peninsula, and includes all of the northern neck. So pretty wide geography, 10 jurisdictions. So one of those jurisdictions, I only have one precinct. So thank you, George, for that. I appreciate it. My background, I went to JMU undergraduate, went to William & Mary for law school, came back and was a prosecutor for a number of years in Hanover, and then have been in private practice ever since. But I grew up farming. We used to do soybeans and wheat. And then my mama's got a little nursery operation that she started when I was a child. And we continue to work, and is still the family business that she and my sister operate today. So thank y'all all for the time. And amigo, thank you and Meg and your team for the efforts that you've done getting ready for this. And we know there'll be a lot of long hours from y'all. And I want to thank you in advance for that.
Thank you, sir. Delegate McQuinn.
Good afternoon again. Thank you. I'm Delegate Dolores McQuinn, representing the 70th House District, which is part of Northern Chesterfield, Eastern Henrico, all of Charles City, and then the city of Richmond. And I'm delighted to be a part of this Virginia Redistricting Commission. I have a long history, I guess, as an elected official, starting with 1992 as a school board member, in 1999 as city council, and then from there in 2009 in the General Assembly. This is an opportunity for us to, after many years of having discussion on gerrymandering and discussions in terms of fair and equity, the issue of equity and fairness, this is a wonderful opportunity for us to come together, and I'm looking forward to it. I am an ordained minister by profession, and I promise if there is a time where we really get sort of everything get up in arms, then I'll just pause for a moment and pray. How about that? But anyway, again, I'm glad to be here and look forward to working with you.
Next, we have Senator Newman.
Yes, amigo, Steve Newman here. Thank you for what you're doing, and Megan, the entire group. I'm here in the cafe of the Science Museum. We're still in session behind us, but I've got George and Mamie with us. This is truly a bipartisan meeting here. I'm just joined by some great guys. I mean, Ryan, but also George has done a lot of work. I was involved in redistricting actually 20 years ago, not 10 years ago. I've been in the legislature. This is my 30th year. First elected to public office in 1988 to my local city council, and then came to the legislature. Really appreciate the work, and really kind of bipartisan work that we've been able to do, working with George and his bill and Mamie on getting the constitutional amendment passed, and then also the language that kind of implemented. So look forward to having a bipartisan approach to this, and thank you and all the citizen members for joining. I think it's going to be a good process for Virginia.
Thank you, sir. Delegate Ransom.
Everybody, I'm Margaret Ranson. I represent the 99th district, and that covers a lot of geography in the Northern Neck. So I make up Caroline County, King George County, Westmoreland, Richmond County, Northumberland, and Lancaster. Basically, I hug the shorelines of the Northern Neck. So it's beautiful, relaxing country. I'm a graduate of Randolph-Macon College, where I studied psychology and religion. But I was drawn into the seafood industry when we began studying aquaculture 20 years ago. So my career is in the oyster industry. I was first elected in 2012. So I've been in the House of Delegates since 2012. And what we're doing now is new for me. I voted on the redistricting bill when I first came into office, but this is going to be very interesting. You all are fantastic folks, and I'm excited to serve on this commission with you. So really looking forward to getting to know you all and being a part of this.
Thank you. And last but not least, Delegate Simon.
Thank you, amigo, my fellow commissioners. I can't help notice that there's a real skew on this commission. It definitely skews towards the beginning of the alphabet. I don't know if there's anything we can do about that, but Simon, I'm rarely the last person to speak in alphabetical order. My name is Marcus Simon, member of the House of Delegates. I represent the 53rd House District, which is Falls Church City, all of it, and parts of Fairfax County. It's actually a fairly compact and contiguous district, which maintains that city of Falls Church pretty well. So I got lucky, I guess, compared to Senator McDougal and some others here. I am the chairman of the House Privileges and Elections Committee, recently appointed upon the retirement of Joe Lindsay. I served as vice chair prior to that. I was first elected to the House in 2013, so started serving in 2014, a couple years after Delegate Ranson. Proud to serve in the oldest continuously meeting legislative body in the New World, but apparently slightly more technologically advanced than our counterparts in the Senate, as we're all able to get our own screen going here for today's meeting. I was, just address this right up front, I was a vocal opponent of the constitutional amendment that created this commission during the campaign, but I am committed to doing our very best to make it work. I certainly, although didn't think it was a great idea at the time, that's not going to stop me from doing everything I can to make sure the process actually does work as it was intended. I hope that I was wrong about everything I predicted and that things go really well and we get amazingly fair and fantastic districts that everybody can be proud of. So look forward to joining you all in the effort to achieve those good, fair districts.
Okay. Thank you, Delegate Simon. I just want to make a quick announcement before we move to the next item on the agenda. There is a public comment period, but that public comment period is at the end of the meeting. So if people are in waiting rooms for public comment, if you could just wait until that point. Now, the next item on the agenda is the election of chair, and the way that this is typically done is is that I would open the floor for nominations, but before that, just see if there are any questions.
Amigo, this is Ryan McDougal. I'd like, and I think maybe this is appropriate as a motion, I like to move that we have co-chairs, one from one of the 4 individuals that were selected from the House and Senate Republican list, and one member selected from the House and Senate Democratic list. Is listening to everybody's stories. They're very varied and wide in experience, and I think having co-chairs, one from each side, would really put us off on the right foot of bipartisanness as we move forward.
And I would second that motion, George Barker here. And I think that way we will have a balanced approach moving forward. And I think that's the way we should be starting off this process.
All right, so there's been a motion made and it's been properly seconded. Is there any discussion?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Wade, I guess. I don't have a chairman yet. I think that's a great idea. I think it's certainly a good way to get us started. It does help us resolve the issue of how we pick and not having to pick, essentially, from one side or the other. Would you all expect, and I think the answer is probably an easy yes, but would you expect that we would have them alternate, who holds the gavel and runs the meeting from just one to the other? Is that how you all see that working? Again, I don't object to the idea. I just want to make sure that we're clear about what the sort of rules, what co-chairing is going to mean. I know that with power sharing circumstances, that's sort of how it was done when the House was 50-50 in the past.
Yes, Delegate Simon, I think that we would have alternating chairs, alternating person with the gavel on alternating meetings, but they would also then talk with each other to sort of plan out the agenda and the process, help us navigate the process going forward. So the 2 of them would work together, but one would chair the next meeting, and the following meeting would be chaired by the other one.
Thank you, Senator Barker. And again, I just wanted to make sure we're clear for the record on how it would work, so we thought those things through. And I with that, would support Senator McDougall's motion, seconded by Senator Barker.
James Abrinio here. Just one quick question. I'm a lawyer, so I'm a nerd, and I can't help. As long as the statutory or amendment language permits it, I don't think I have a problem. But is there any question about whether or not it's specific about one citizen being the chairperson?
The good news is, and Migo's such a great lawyer, is we've got the guy that wrote it. And we've talked about this somewhat extensively, and it doesn't forbid it. It says you must have a chair, and this will not only give us a chair, this will give us 2 chairs.
2 co-chairs, yeah.
I think that the restriction is that it would have to be a citizen member, and I think that this.
Yeah.
Any other discussion? With that, I would do a very quick roll call vote so that we can get this down, going alphabetically, starting with the citizen members. Mr. Abrinio?
Yes.
Ms. Babachenko?
Yes.
Mr. Feliciano?
Yes.
Mr. Gilliam?
Yes.
Mr. Harroll?
Yes.
Ms. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Hutchins?
Yes.
Mr. Kumar?
Yes.
Delegate Adams?
Yes.
Senator Barker?
Yes.
Senator Locke?
Yes.
Senator McDougall?
Aye.
Delegate McQuinn?
Yes.
Senator Newman?
Aye.
Delegate Ranson?
Aye.
Delegate Simon?
Aye.
The motion carries 11-0. With that, I would like to open the floor for nominees for co-chairs.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Chairman,
I'd like to put into nomination Mackenzie Babachenko for one of the co-chairs, and I'll yield to Senator Barker.
Yes, and we would like to then nominate Greta Harris as the other co-chair.
Mr. Chair, I want to second that nomination. I was going to nominate him, Senator. I nominate her, Senator. Okay.
I'm glad we're on the same page.
Okay. Since one senator have nominated, why don't we let one of the delegates or whoever nominate the other? Can we do? Is that fair or not?
I will draw my nomination. You could make it. So.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I would like to nominate Greta Harris for the one of the co-chairs.
All right, and just so that we can have this clear on the record, let's vote for one co-chair first, and then we'll vote for the other co-chair. I'll start with Ms. Babachenko. I think that we had we had the nomination, and did we get a second on it?
Second. Amigo, this is Ryan McDougall. I'll second both nominations.
Okay. All right, so I'm just going down the roll call. Mr. Abrinio?
Yes.
Ms. Babachenko?
Happy to serve, yes.
Mr. Feliciano?
Yes.
Mr. Gilliam?
Yes.
Mr. Carroll?
Yes.
Ms. Harris?
Yes, happy to serve.
Mr. Hutchins?
Yes.
Mr. Kumar?
Yes.
Delegate Adams?
Yes.
Senator Barker?
Yes.
Senator Locke?
Yes.
Senator McDougall?
Aye.
Delegate McQuinn?
Yes.
Senator Newman?
Aye.
Delegate Ranson?
Aye.
And Delegate Simon.
Aye.
All right, we have the next vote will be for Ms. Harris as the other co-chair. Mr. Abrinio?
Yes.
Ms. Babachenko?
Yes.
Mr. Feliciano?
Yes.
Mr. Gilliam?
Yes.
Mr. Harrell?
Yes.
Ms. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Hutchins?
Yes.
Mr. Kumar?
Yes.
Delegate Adams?
Yes.
Senator Barker?
Aye.
Senator Locke?
Yes.
Senator McDougall?
Aye.
Delegate McQuinn?
Yes.
Senator Newman?
Aye.
Delegate Ransom?
Aye.
And Delegate Simon.
Aye.
All right, with that, we haven't decided which would co-chair first. The next item is this is all new territory. So the next item is, I think Meg was going to provide an update on the status of the census data delivery. Meg.
Hi, I'm Meg Lamb. I'm a senior attorney at the Division of Legislative Services, and I am the counsel for the House Committee on Privileges and Elections. I'm sure you all have heard the census data is going to be delayed. Typically, this is data that is statutorily required to be provided to the states by the end of March in a year ending in 1. Virginia has always been, we've always received our data early because the Census Bureau is very aware of what our election schedule is. So in years past, we've gotten it as early as the beginning of February. However, because of COVID, they did have to delay their operations in 2020. And then there were some data issues and some lawsuits. And so the data is going to be delayed. How delayed is still very much up in the air. It had been anticipated to be maybe late March, maybe April, May, and then with the new makeup in the Senate legislation, the United States Senate, excuse me, legislation is being introduced to actually amend those statutory deadlines to push back the delivery deadline for the population data to July 31st of this year. So not likely that we would be able to get our House of Delegates districts drawn in time for the 2019 or 2021 elections. So we'll get to spend a lot of time together this year and probably some of next.
So, Mrs. Chair, Mr. Wade, have we picked who's going to go first? Maybe alphabetical order. Maybe we can have Ms. Babachenko.
I think that's a good idea. If that's the will of the body.
Is there any objection?
Mr. Chairman, I would second Delegate Simon's motion.
Yeah. All right, Ms. Babachenko, I hand over the chairmanship to you.
Ms. Babachenko, I'm seeking recognition to ask a question of Ms. Lamb. Is that okay?
Oh, am I starting this right now?
Yeah.
Okay, yes, permission granted.
So, Meg, maybe I missed it. I was trying to do a couple things at once. So you have is there any sort of thought about when we should expect at the earliest and the latest to get the apportionment data? I understand is not coming until maybe at the earliest, the beginning of March, which is then we'll know how many congressional districts we're drawing. And then, I guess there's a new act that's pending in the Senate that might delay the reporting until July 31st. Is that what y'all in sort of the census data liaison circles, such as they are hearing? What's sort of the word on the street about when we might see that data?
Yes, Madam Chair, Delegate Simon. So the bill does amend the deadlines to push them to July 31st, 2021. And the gossip in the census liaison redistricting world is very much a late summer, early fall data delivery.
Early fall.
Madam Chair, Senator Barker here.
Yes.
Yes, actually, I was contacted by an individual who's working with the Biden transition team heading into his presidency, which started yesterday, about a week and a half ago, started getting information. And he's been working specifically on all the census issues. There is transition at the Census Bureau. The head of the Census Bureau just resigned in the last couple of days, his position there. And basically what he wanted to know was how long it would take us to be able to do the redistricting and when we needed the data by for under different scenarios. So I gave him a lot of information. I did get in touch with him again today to see sort of where they are on things. Basically, there are 2 states that are supposed to do redistricting this year and have elections, which is us and New Jersey. So what they do in these circumstances is they do expedite the states that are doing the redistricting. In 2011, we were the first two. There were 4 states that were doing redistricting that year, and we got our data. We were the first 4 states to get our data because they knew it was important. He does not have concrete information yet in terms of sort of a clear range of possible times in which the information might be supplied. I did argue for them making every effort to try to have it done by sometime in April or at the latest in the first half of May. So they said that they are working on trying to get an answer on that. And as soon as they get an answer, I'll be communicating with Mr. Wade and Ms. Lamb on things, as well as the chairs here on that. So I'll let you know as soon as I get some more information.
Great.
Madam Chair, may I ask a question of Ms. Lamb?
Yes, you may.
Ms. Lamb, I'm one citizen member. I'm sure other people have the question, not being a legislature. Let's say the data drops mid-April. What, if any, flexibility in schedule, and do we expect these meetings to be after hours, just kind of working and anticipating work schedule?
So we're really going to defer to you all as to how you want your work schedule to be. The Constitution does require that we have maps submitted to the General Assembly within 45 days of receipt of census data. It'll really depend on if you would prefer to do like a really condensed time period of working on maps and then having our public hearings, or sort of spreading the work out. But I would anticipate at least 45 days for those maps, and then it's an additional, I think 15 days for the congressional map. So whenever we do get the census data, it'll be about 60 days of work.
Thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Mm-hmm. I have a question. Well, are there any other questions about the census data or anyone else?
Yes.
Ms. Harris.
Thank you. Ms. Lamb, does the delay impact the upcoming primary, or that's coming up, I guess, in June of this year, or it's just whenever we get the data, then our work actually gets started?
Madam Chair, Co-Chair Harris. So typically in a redistricting year, there is a piece of legislation that is introduced to adjust the primary schedule for the elections that will be held that November that are dependent on districts. So that would have been a bill introduced this year to adjust the deadline or the primary date to late August, and then adjust all those related filing deadlines, campaign type of deadlines. That legislation, we did not get that legislation introduced this year. So as it stands right now, we will still be having all of our primary elections in June. So it does create a bit of a pickle.
Madam Chair, if I might respond.
Yes.
But we do have the option. It wasn't a bill introduced because we didn't have a clear indication as to what the census delivery date would be. But we have the ability to incorporate into the budget language that would deal with that issue. As has it been stated, we always postpone the legislative primaries in a year when redistricting is done, because you can't really get it done properly to have everybody be able to run in a primary in June. So there probably will be the 3 statewide primaries in June for governor, lieutenant governor, and attorney general nominees, depending, for whatever which parties have primaries. And I've talked with the people at the Board of Elections and the Department of Elections, and they say that they would like to have the primaries done by August 24th, which is one day later than it was 10 years ago, because that was done on August 23rd then. If it's done on August 24th, then they can meet all the deadlines moving forward for checking the results on the primary elections, and then having the equipment be in place for early voting and being able to send out ballots, absentee ballots, particularly the military and overseas absentee ballots. That would be important for people to have enough time to get those in. So that way we would not have to make any adjustments anywhere else along the line. It can be done later. And actually in 1991, it was done on September 15th, which is almost a month after the August 24th date. But hopefully we won't have to do that. But there is that option, is to pushing it back a little bit. So to see what we get on the census data and how quickly we can get the district drawn.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Just Delegate Simon again on that issue. I think it may be helpful, maybe as the chair set up the next agenda for the next meeting, we could have somebody from the Department of Elections come and present to us on what their timeline is and what the technology needs are, and how much time they need to get Veris set up. I think it'd be useful to figure out what our sort of drop dead date is to receive the data, so that we can help plan that. So maybe that's something we can put on a future agenda, so we can figure out, how late it really can be. Just a suggestion.
Okay. I think that's a great suggestion. And does anybody else have any comments on the actual delay, that item on the agenda, the delay of the census data?
Just if I might add one other thing that sort of is related to that, I think that we should not wait until the census data to really start working on all this. I think that because we don't know when the census data is coming now, it would be good for us to go ahead and have meetings now to start to deal with the issues, which will make it a lot easier to resolve things once we get the census data, and be able to hopefully be able to get the district drawn in a shorter amount of time than the 45 days that's specified in the Constitution.
I think it may be helpful, George, to let you know, George can tell you more, Madam Chair, that we do have preliminary data. So it's not as if we will be operating blindly. And George, you may just want to tell them a little bit about that.
Yeah, there's some preliminary data, and obviously we have, the population estimates that have been done in Virginia for each jurisdiction from 2010 to 2019. And there are various technology things that have made projections based on some of that. So there are some things that we clearly can start to factor in. And actually we have an extraordinarily clear picture of sort of what parts of the state might there be increases in the percentage of population which would move would have new districts that would be created there and what parts of the state would have potential losses. And actually, most of the state this time, there's actually less shifting of districts that will occur this decade than at any time since before World War II. So that we actually are fairly stable in terms of the overall population. There's a little bit of growth in Northern Virginia and the Fredericksburg area. At the southern part of the state along the North Carolina and Tennessee and Kentucky borders is the area that's losing a percent of population. So there'll be modest shifts there, and the rest of the state is pretty much stable. So I think it's not as difficult to do as it has been in many other decades in the past when there's been more radical shifts. And I think that we clearly have data that are pretty reliable. We don't have to wait to get the data and then be surprised by it.
Sure. And on that note, Ms. Lamb, are you able to send out another survey to schedule the next meeting so that we can all start discussing, and then in the interim, we can come up with a list of items, preliminary determinations we may want to discuss on that date. Does that work for you?
You are psychic, Madam Chair. So that was one of our plans. We wanted to just sort of do introductions, nominate the chair or elect the chair, and then we plan on sending out an email to you all in the coming week with a list of things that we think we need to be discussing and making decisions on. Obviously, if you have any thoughts on things that, questions, concerns, things you'd like to make decisions on, certainly we'll be relying on Senator Barker's expertise as well. And then we'll also poll for a meeting date. It is during session, so it's going to be a little tricky to find a time for the senators and the delegates, but we certainly are going to give it a good try to make sure that we can start doing some stuff sooner rather than later.
Madam Chair. I'm sorry.
Yes. Meg, the question I want to ask, are these going to be, and maybe Amiga may know, are these going to be public meetings or just recorded meetings? And then will there be any public hearing along the way? Is that a part of this equation?
I can answer that question, Madam Chair, Delegate McQuinn. So the law does require that all meetings of the commission be public. We're doing obviously things virtually, so we're going to have public comment at all of the meetings, and obviously we're live streaming this so everyone can watch and hear what's happening. And then as far as actual public hearings that are mandated, the constitutional amendment and then the law itself mandate 3 public hearings before maps are voted on, or before maps are proposed, and then before maps are voted on to be submitted to the General Assembly. So it will be a combination of public hearings to just sort of gather information and hear from the public on their thoughts about what districts should look like, what type of communities of interest they want to keep together. And then also just our general meetings about the activities that we're doing, map drawing type of things are also going to be made public.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Madam Chair. I'm sorry, Madam Chair.
Yes. Go. Yes, go ahead.
That's fine. Just following on that, and I think it may be Meg, Amigo, or George, I think it would be helpful if we got just a quick primer on what the law says about confidentiality.
Right.
It's pretty critical and it's very clear, but I think we should know, and Madam Chair, if it makes sense, maybe we could get a primer on that, but it may also make sense for Meg to call all the members, especially the citizen members, and just kind of go through what the law is, because that information would be very helpful, and we wouldn't want someone to stumble up about communication outside of these meetings and what's in and kind of what's out. So, Madam Chair, if you would consider it, maybe Meg or George could give us a primer on that, ma'am.
Absolutely. Do you want that to be in the meeting right now, or do you want that to be at a later time, or through a phone call or an official email or something like that?
Madam Chair, I thought maybe we could get a quick primer. It's not complicated. It's basically don't talk to anybody.
Okay.
But maybe we could get a quick primer from Meg, and then there could be that other communication with each of the members to kind of familiarize them with kind of what's required. Yes, ma'am.
Sure. Ms. Lamb?
Sure. Thank you, Madam Chair. Senator Newman. So yes, the law says you can't talk to anyone about redistricting or reapportionment matters. I am just a regular little old senior attorney, so anything I tell you, any advice I give you would not shield you from any type of prosecution or penalties. If the commission is very concerned and would like to have really detailed, clear instructions on that, I would recommend getting an opinion from the Attorney General about what matters related to redistricting and reapportionment cover.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's clear and it's written into the law that we passed in November that specifies that none of us can be talking with someone outside the commission in terms of any of the major issues related to redistricting or reapportionment, as Ms. Lamb indicated. So we need to make sure that everybody has a copy of that and understands, what is allowed and what is not allowed there. I did talk a while back with the Attorney General, and he said that we need to be careful and make sure that we're not nobody is violating that, because there could be challenges to it, which have happened sometimes in some other states when they have that type of limitation on things. So we need to make sure that we are following the law and that we are as transparent as possible. Clearly, in developing this, one of the things that was in terms of the amendment and then the law that was passed to implement it is to have a transparent process rather than have decisions made in a back room or whatever you want to call it and the public not be part of the process. So I think it's important that we start to get that understanding of what we can do and what we cannot do, because there have been states where the decisions that were enacted have been thrown out because of someone was breaking the law in terms of what could be done and what types of communications could be held. So it is critical. The other thing is that what also is written in there is that we have the ability as the commission to hire a lawyer to help us in this process, a lawyer or a law firm. It does say it's to be one lawyer or law firm. As we've sort of looked into this, most of the law firms that deal with these types of issues either work only with Republicans or only with Democrats. So we need to figure out sort of how we can deal with that, since they envision having a single lawyer or law firm rather than two. And you don't want necessarily to have a Republican law firm if and have Democrats be left out, or a Democratic law firm not have advice more towards to help the Republicans. We need to make sure that we're doing everything properly. So that is something that I think that working with Ms. Lamb and Mr. Wade, that we need to try to figure out how we can deal with that most effectively. So that is not that's not an easy issue here. So,
Madam Chair, if I could just expand on that a little bit. So the law does say that in the event the commission hires a lawyer, it's going to be the commission as an entity being the client, that a law firm or a lawyer is not going to be the lawyer for just a group of commissioners. It does not say, though, that it can't have more than one lawyer. I think the issue would be if you hire a Republican lawyer, and you hire a Democratic lawyer, in theory, that does still, they still represent the entire commission, and the entire commission would still have access to them.
Chair, quick point on a couple of those issues. One, again, a lot of lawyers on the chat. That does raise the question in my mind: is there any potential for personal liability? Obviously, anyone can sue anyone for anything. If these are challenged in court, to what extent is that an issue? I mean, obviously, acting in good faith in the course of our duties as commissioners. That notwithstanding, if there's any gaps or issues there. Based on what Ms. Lamb just raised. Second, to Senator Barker's point on the training that we might ask for, I've communicated with Mr. Wade a little bit about this, and he's provided some helpful points of contact. But I think really it would help, because I agreed, none of us want to run afoul either ourselves or have our peers do that. If I've got a former government professor from UVA who focuses on this, and I ask him just for reading to smarten up on the history here, not discussing our work, I'm guessing that's probably okay. Not discussing, hey, what should we do? Right, asking for suggested published literature, also, which we will get from Mr. Wade and Ms. Lamb, I expect. But it would help to have some examples like that. And I also communicated with Mr. Wade about if I communicate with another member of the commission, again, nothing nefarious, but if we're communicating one-on-one, where does that hit the language of the amendment and the enabling legislation versus traditional FOIA laws, right? Just knowing, is that something we should use our commission email addresses? We should expect that to be subject to disclosure if necessary. All those points would love more detail on.
I would second that. I would love to have either something in writing or a presentation where we have a date in the future just set up, put aside so that we can get some guidance and if the official legal opinion, perhaps from the Attorney General, if that's where we're going to get guidance from. I think that was mentioned earlier. And so perhaps another date we can select that would go with our I don't know if it's better to have or easier to have just the citizens. We're probably the ones that need more education on this. But certainly if everybody's there, it's also beneficial if they need to brush up on it. But I would definitely like that information.
Madam Chair, may I ask a question?
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Harris?
Yep, thank you. This goes to Meg, I believe. Are there additional resources besides legal counsel that are available to the commission? Like folks to help with understanding the census data or GIS mapping or something like that?
Madam Chair, Commissioner, Madam Co-Chair. So we have actually sent out an email. We heard back from most of you to get your mailing address so that we can send you a copy of what is called the Red Book. The National Conference of State Legislatures puts out a guide every 10 years, just covering the legal landscape of redistricting. It's put together by a group of bipartisan experts and practitioners. And so it's just highly recommend. So we've gotten copies for everyone, or we will be receiving copies for everyone. Most of them will be mailed directly to you, but there will be some that'll come to our office and then we'll mail to you once we can follow up with you to get your address. We also have been offered by NCSL's elections team to put together a presentation for you all, just going over redistricting, kind of give you an overview and just sort of providing that type of information. If anyone's interested in doing that, we're happy to facilitate setting that up. And then lastly, we do have the opportunity to access like some testing software through the vendor that we'll be using. And then we can have meetings that you all could set up with Julie Smith, who is our technological whiz kid behind all of this stuff. And she can walk you through how to use that mapping software. It won't necessarily be the real data, but you'd certainly practice with tools and seeing how you move census blocks around, precincts, that type of thing. So these will all be things we will follow up with you all about.
Yeah, and I would say that we also have the ability to hire consultants to help us with some of these types of things. So that's a thing. And certainly, I mean, for a good example of that is that in looking at the maps were drawn in 2011, one of the things that turned out to be critical in terms of the court cases was that we have a racial voting block analyst look at what types of things need to be taken into consideration on giving minority groups, including African Americans and ethnic minorities as well, in terms of being able to provide them the opportunity to select individuals of their choosing, where there are sufficient numbers and diversity to be able to do that. So there's a lot of things in there that can be done. And then Julie Smith and the others on staff then can help us with it in terms of how we implement things that are there. So I think there's both the internal resources, but also the opportunity for bringing in consultants to deal with some of these issues. And that's what I think that's part of the reason I think it's important for us to have meetings over the next couple of months prior to getting the census data, so that we can be prepared in terms of knowing how we want to approach some of these issues.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, just one more thing for me, if you wouldn't mind. It might make sense if Mamie and George and Mark and others agree, all the citizen members, that we consider putting forward names to the chairs to be attorneys and
Right,
their resumes, so that we can all get the information and then we can look at it before we go to the next meeting. George is exactly right. We do have the ability to hire consultants, but that could be another meeting down. But if we at least had our lawyer or lawyers in place, Madam Chair, that might be a good idea for us to have those people available to the next meeting. So one of the quick things we can do is get the attorneys in. While the Attorney General might be helpful, it would also be, I think, helpful to have our attorneys in place, if that would be acceptable to the group.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I'm sorry. Is Senator Newman suggesting that the commissioners that have just now attended their first meeting an hour ago should select the attorneys that we're going to employ at this meeting so that we can have them available for the next meeting? Or I'm confused. I thought this was going to be a citizen-led commission, and I'm hearing a lot of leading coming from the small box there with the senators in it. I'm confused about what's happening here.
What I thought I heard was that there was going to be some sort of submission of biographies and names via email to the group so that we can discuss it and make the decisions at a later meeting, but I could be wrong. That's what I thought I heard. Perhaps Senator Newman, you can clarify.
Yeah, but I'll let George do it. Mark, I didn't mean to say that. I'm sorry, the masks don't help with this, but I didn't mean today. I was just talking about getting some names in. So George,
I think it started.
I'm sorry if I misunderstood.
Okay. All right. I think we're moving forward in the right direction. So I'm pleased with that. So,
Madam Chair, if I may. So,
yes.
What in the vein of all we've discussed, I would love to see if we can have from staff at the next meeting or by email in between, some recommendations of the capabilities they think that we're going to need, right? Legal, so potential consultants. I mean, this is going to span several areas, and I know they've been familiar with how this has been done in other states. I know we're the first, mixed legislative and citizen commission. We're breaking new ground here, and we're going to iterate and do the best we can as we go. But I'd love to see a little bit of what they recommend. We'll have some of our own ideas. Also, a little bit overlap of what they can do for us, right? Where those limits are. Let's not go out and start hiring lawyers for things we don't necessarily need to spend. Like, there'll be a scope of representation that we need from outside counsel. There'll be some that are, state attorneys, whether the Attorney General's office and Mr. Wade's office can help us. So I'd love to see some information there. What do we think we're going to need? We can start getting the ball rolling on, then coming up with names so we can start to, fill in those gaps as we need and have them ready in place by the time they're necessary.
Right.
So perhaps what we can do after we adjourn is take the next few days to think about what we talked about today, and everyone can make a list of proposed agenda items for our next meeting and triage them, what we should be looking at first, what decisions we should be making in a certain order, and put a proposed timeline. And then we can work with Ms. Lamb in determining what things we should be discussing when, if that works for everyone. We could do it all over email. Are there any thoughts on that?
Well, Madam Chair, Les Adams.
Yes.
And about the email, and this is just make sure we're all getting the information where we expect it. I understand that the citizen members have sponsored email addresses specifically for the commission.
Correct.
I understand for Delegate Simon, McQuinn, and Ranson, and myself that I inquired about that, and we also have a specific House email set up for that. So I don't know if that's been provided, because I just got this yesterday, I believe, Meg. So would you suggest that we send you, our specific contact information to make sure that going forward from today, we're getting things in one place?
Yes, we're going to be trying to keep everything in an email address that we've created specifically for redistricting, thinking ahead to if we ever have to comb through emails. So, Amigo, I think you know the address. I still haven't quite nailed it.
Yeah, it's but first I want to say, if there is another email address and phone number that you want us to use, make sure that you let us have it, so that the email address that we use for redistricting is edist@dls.virginia.gov. It should be on the agenda, but we did get specific email addresses for the citizen members, and I think that the House members have a different address. Give that to us, and for the senators, if you all have different addresses that you want us to use, I think we've gotten one from Senator McDougal. Give those to us too, and that's how we will communicate with you with just those email addresses and phone numbers.
And Madam, just to clarify, so you'd like for us to send you that information to the one on the agenda that you read?
Yes.
That
yes.
email address? Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I have one more point on logistics, if I may.
Yes.
Oh, you're muted.
I'm sorry, I said yes.
Oh, sorry. I think my internet was getting a little slow there for a minute. So the other point I had was, and I don't know if based on what Senator Barker said, if this is even feasible, but it might be helpful for planning purposes. We've talked a lot about what we need to do and who we're going to need, and now kind of the when on scheduling. If there's a couple of possible scenarios, I guess, based on when the census data would come, that would maybe trigger our ability to plan. If we get it by a certain date, I know that by statute, once we get it, we've got 45 days, but it might help us to, once we hit a certain date, maybe move into another. And one of the things I'm thinking about, and hopefully this will benefit others, is even just trying to estimate how many days I'm going to take off work for this, right? I mean, there's a lot of work to do. We're going to get it done. I'm happy to work evenings, weekends, and I'm happy to take a certain amount of days off work. But as I think about budgeting my work relationship with this, if it was, and I'm not saying we can or would do this tonight, but maybe by the next meeting, hey, we should expect to take 10 days where it's going to be, business hours, or 12 or 15 or 5. Even just knowing that, I think would probably help people budget a little bit as we go.
Does anyone have any response or thoughts with that?
I think it's a good idea.
I think it's a good idea, and I think that also all of us need to make sure that we are going to be available enough to be able to make sure that we can do this in a timely manner once we get the census data, and that we are committed to getting it done properly and efficiently and quickly then, so that hopefully it doesn't impact negatively the timeline that we have, hopefully getting it by an August 24th primary date for the House of Delegates districts. So that I think it's important that we do that, and important that we figure out sort of how much time we might need under different scenarios as to when we got the data.
I think it's not only important how much time, that's very important, but we could get some proposal of the order of things that have already been mentioned.
Right.
Increasing our knowledge, learning about this, talking, getting our legal background, and all these things have been thrown out, but we don't have any stepping up on Commissioner Kumar's opinion. We don't have any semblance of what order all this ought to be, and at what time we ought to be educated. We've got to organize, educate, figure out who our staff is and how we're going to work together. That's a hodgepodge of things. So as one of the non-educated citizens, I need that.
And I think that's something that will be helpful to put in email and send to Ms. Lamb, so we have an organized list of items to discuss, so that we can come up with that timeline and that organization. Certainly, we will need to discuss subcommittees. And I think one of the bigger issues is going to be, are we able to meet in person? Who is able to meet in person? When are we able to meet in person, and where is that going to be? Or can we do subcommittees based on where we all are? So those are all things that we should be putting in, or everybody should be thinking about putting into an email, submitting it to Ms. Lamb, and then we can all discuss that for our next meeting and be ready to have some proposals and make some of the decisions. which may be decisions to wait and decide later, but certainly we should be thinking about everything that we can think about now, knowing things are going to come up too. Lots of things may come up. We don't know what COVID's going to look like, or if there's going to be any developments that just change all of our plans. But I agree with you, Mr. Harrell. I also need that in the structure. Does anyone have anything additional on that?
Madam Chair, just to follow up on that, I think you're on the right path here. And I think one of the things that we can do is figure out what types of things we can plan over the next couple of meetings, where we can make sure that everybody is educated in terms of how the process can work and what are the issues we need to deal with in making our decisions. And a lot of that can be done, I think, through virtual meetings like like what we're having today. But I do think once we get down to the point of making final decisions on things and looking at real maps and negotiating in terms of how we deal with things, I think it will be important that we have a number of meetings that are going to be in-person meetings to get it done. Because I think that if we can move a lot more quickly with in-person meetings once it's 16 of us that are making these decisions as to what those districts look like. So
I agree.
Madam Chair. And,
yes, Madam Chair. I'm sorry.
And I'm just sort of suggesting something. Some of us, I guess, in terms of legislators, have had some introduction into redistricting and what it's all about. Is it possible to put together some kind of orientation package that would be helpful, particular to the citizen members here, that would just give them a little more insight or introduction into redistricting, the whys, the whats, the redistricting. I mean, if that would be helpful to them, I don't know. Because what I'm hearing is that there may, we just don't have anything now that would give us some insight or more insight into what is being asked of us. And I may be wrong. You guys, if I'm interpreting this wrong, please let me know.
I think that you're absolutely spot on. And I was a bit hesitant to say anything before, but as a citizen member, I've got a very high level overview of what redistricting entails in this process. I need to be brought up to speed as to what's expected of us, the history, all those things. So if there's some sort of avenue that we can approach training with, by all means, point me and whoever else is interested in the right direction, because I'm definitely going to need that in order to be effective in this commission.
I think Delegate McQuinn is absolutely right. There needs to be some kind of educational materials to provide certainly citizen members with basically redistricting 101 as to what this all entails. And
absolutely
about doing.
Madam Chair, Senators, delegates, everyone, I know that you're hearing a lot from me, particularly saying this will be coming, this will be coming. DLS was in an uncomfortable position where this was passed, it was adopted by the voters, and then we had to turn around getting the commission up and running in about a week. And then we had bill drafting and now we're in session. So we have every intention to get you all of this type of information, working on a guide to redistricting that is more geared towards, we already have a local guide to redistricting, but we want to get one together that is more geared to General Assembly and congressional redistricting to give you that type of information. I promise we're not going to just leave you in the dark. We have an office of 2 people with a redistricting and elections background. And so we're a little short staffed, but we do have every intention of making sure you all have the materials and information that you need and helping facilitate any more that you might need.
Meg, you don't have to apologize for this. I just want to make sure that, try sort of put it out if this is what it's needed and just put it on everyone's radar. That's all. So you don't have to apologize. It is fine. Okay.
I see a hand up. You're up.
Yep, Madam Chair. Whoops, sorry. Who did you call on?
And I apologize. I saw Mr. Simon's hand up.
Okay. Great. I'll get back to. I guess real quickly, somebody's asked me this for who's watching online. So it looks like there's a chat that's going on the sidebar, and I don't know. These look like they're perhaps people that have signed up to speak publicly. But the question has come up as whether the contents of the chat is going to be public record and disclosable. I think people are feeling a little uncomfortable seeing that there's a chat that's going on the side. I just want to be clear for those watching, I am not chatting in the chat. Everything I'm saying is being said out loud for everybody to see on the stream. I don't know if maybe in future meetings, if it'd be a good idea to disable that, or if they can be released to the public. And also for the people participating in the chat, you might want to know this is going to be something that's going to be disclosable. So just wanted to share that with the tech folks and council.
Thank you for that reminder, Delegate Simon. Madam Co-Chair Harris.
Thank you. So question for Meg again. Does this commission have to follow FOIA laws as well, so that it can't be more than, I guess, two of us talking together at one time? Any more than that, it would be deemed a meeting. And so just as an example, if the co-chairs wanted to talk with you to sort of organize ourselves and get a cadence for meetings and working on our agendas, is that okay for us to do that?
So, Madam Co-Chair, so we are subject to FOIA. We actually have the FOIA Council in-house at DLS, including the Executive Director of the FOIA Council. So another thing we've planned on is putting together a FOIA overview for you, including what will constitute a meeting. If we're sending an email, don't hit reply all, that type of thing.
Okay, that's great. And just a follow-up to that is, I don't know about other citizen members, but there's been a lot of interest from the press on this and people coming to us. So if we could also get some guidance around if we are approached by the press, what the guidelines would be in making any type of comments or not.
Ms. Lamb, are we able to get some guidance on that?
I do not ever talk to press in my role, so we'll work on figuring out how to help you guys handle that.
Okay, so don't talk to the press.
Don't talk to the press yet.
We have further advice.
We will come up with something for you all.
Perfect. Okay, is there anything else, anything additional that any of the members have to add right now?
I'd like to ask who and when will we decide the chat issue? I personally don't think, I mean, I've seen some of the comments show up on the screen and they were intelligent, but these people were not selected to be on the commission. And I think it's improper for these messages to show up while we're trying to deliberate. But it's not my decision to make. Maybe it's the decision of everybody or some legal counsel, either one.
If I may, Madam Chair, we can disable the chat function. I think that going forward, it will be disabled. We have a few people that have signed up, that have registered to provide public comment, and that's how the public comment will be provided.
Correct.
Okay. So we could discuss that, or we could discuss an official decision perhaps at our next meeting. Does that work? As to whether there's still going to be public comment, but you're saying disable it from actually popping up while we're deliberating?
Correct.
Okay.
Madam Chair, I'd be curious if Mr. Wade's office can, statewide commissions have been meeting throughout 2020 after the pandemic hit. If there's practices or policy adopted for that, you know, from a kind of a business perspective, the chat can be a valuable thing for remote meetings, right, for campaign purposes. But given the FOIA issues, you know, it's possible we could have the chat just for commissioners and still make that public after the meeting as part of the record. I mean, there's a variety of options, but obviously if we can learn anything from what's already been done over the past year, that might be a great starting point.
If I may, Madam Chair, Commissioner Kumar, is what you're saying to allow the members to chat among themselves?
I mean, that could be a possibility, right? I mean, I guess my thing is, what can we learn from other commissions that have been meeting virtually over the last year? And maybe there's some clear guidance or best practices, so we don't have to explore this, brand new. And I'm just raising that as I suppose that could be a possibility. We may decide that, I'm not saying that should be the policy, but that would avoid, members of the public who have a clear procedure for signing up to speak and then having their opportunity to speak at the right time. It's an option where I'm not saying it's the ideal option. There could be reasons that it wouldn't work, and then disclose it afterwards. That may not be best, but in a virtual setting, it may be an option.
We will do research and get some best practices and bring them back to you all.
Okay. Does anyone have any other additional comments? Okay, so what I'm hearing is we're going to get some more information, some more guidance. Hopefully we can put together a good agenda, and we're going to get another date for in the near future to try to start fleshing out some of the decisions that we can make in advance of getting the actual information.
And then in the meantime, if anyone has any questions or thoughts or, hey, I'd like to have more information about this, we just encourage you to use that redistricting email address that we provided on the agenda.
Okay, very good. Does anybody have anything else?
Do we send our comments that you've asked for to that redistricting email or to the chairs? Where should we send what you've asked for? And if we could have a summary of that at the end of this, obviously after the meeting, so we know what we all need to contribute.
Right, to the redistricting email, please. Thank you.
Normal things that we don't have to have at every meeting. But
If I may, Madam Chair.
Yes.
When you're ready, we can move to the public comment period. We have 6 people that are in the waiting room to provide it.
Okay. And do I need to make this is probably inexperience here. Do I need to move to the public comment period, or can we move to the comment period?
Once you finish with this discussion, we can just move to the public comment period, and I'll start calling the people in.
Okay. Does anyone have anything else before we move to the public comment period?
Excuse me, Madam Chair.
Yes.
Will there be a time limit put on the public speaking?
Yes, Madam Chair, I would recommend that there be a 3-minute time limit put on the comment that is provided, which is, I think, pretty standard.
We'll have a 3-minute time limit. Yes.
How about 2? 2
minutes? Okay. I'm happy to submit that to people more experienced than I am with public comment periods. So 2 minutes for public comment period.
All right, Madam Chair, if the group is ready, the first person who had signed up is Erin Corbett. Say if you can let Ms. Corbett in.
Hey there. Can folks hear me? That was a fun transition to being a panelist. Hello, my name is Erin, and I fully hear the 2 minutes, so I will speak extremely quickly. So I'm the Redistricting Coordinator with the Virginia Civic Engagement Table. So it is my honor to advocate on the interests of our wonderful coalition. So to that end, I know I submitted buckets of questions to you guys earlier, so I'm hoping someone got those. But in the meantime, I do just have a prepared statement that I would really love to read. So I will speak really quickly so that I can hit that 2-minute mark. So with that in in response to the fact that we now have 2 co-chair persons, which congratulations, Mackenzie, and congratulations, Greta. Super excited to work with you guys. But I did just want to read this statement from our organization. Upon the selection of the Citizen Commission Chair, the Virginia Counts Coalition has released this following statement with recommendations that the chairs must embody with other citizen commissioners, commission legislatures, and Virginians as a whole. Earlier this month, the VCC released a list of demands around transparency, accessibility, and equity in the redistricting process for the Citizen Redistricting Commission, and our expectations for the newly named chairs remain the same. While the commission has already seen an example of some indecent behavior from one commissioner, we trust the chairs will supersede this and any anticipated future failings by allowing for communication with the VCC, being transparent in the proceedings and accountable with decision making, and upholding a cooperative demeanor with other commissioners, VCC members, and Virginians as a whole. Our coalition operates with a commitment to democracy and an equitable Virginia. We believe that by keeping the commission accountable, it will allow the redistricting process to create a more conclusive and inclusive Commonwealth where everyone can thrive. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. The next person is Gary Page. Say if you can let Mr. Page into the meeting.
Okay. Can everybody hear me?
Yep.
Okay. My name is Gary Page. I have been a Virginia resident for quite a long time now, about 48 years. Defense consultant up in Northern Virginia for about 38, and then 5 years as a college professor in Farmville, where I live in Prince Edward County now. Actually know Senator Barker. His daughter went to school with my two daughters long ago. I had a longer, although roughly 3 minutes presentation to go through, but I'm going to cut to the chase. It's too early for what I was going to say, but I'm just curious about a couple of things. One is, will we citizens, outsiders, be able to get a copy of this red book that was mentioned before? And secondly, I'm interested in what kind of software has been procured, the vendor, and what that software's capabilities are. That was also talked about a little bit before. And finally, will the commission be able to accept citizen input? I'm certainly prepared to send in district maps in Esri shapefile format that the DLS could accept in and evaluate. Depending on what the commission starts with and how it develops, I might be interested in doing just that. So that's it, kind of 3 questions for the commission.
I know the meeting for that. Like that is one.
I will say, as the chairperson, I'll respond that I'm not really in a position to answer any of those questions yet. I don't think we have gotten an opportunity to discuss all of those things, but we can certainly put them on a list to discuss at our next meeting and to address. And I have whether you'll get a citizen copy of the Red Book. Ms. Lamb could probably answer that, possibly, and what kind of software. We haven't discussed that yet, and citizen input, we can discuss that. So I don't think I can really answer any of your questions right now, but Ms. Lamb, are you able to discuss the first one?
I can certainly answer the Red Book question. So those are actually provided free to the legislators and the commissioners because of the dues that the Commonwealth pays to the National Conference of State Legislatures, but you can actually purchase a copy of the Red Book from the NCSL website. If you Google NCSL Red Book, a link should very quickly appear for you. I'm not sure of the cost, but it is publicly available.
Okay.
Thank you for your questions, Mr. Page.
Okay, thanks.
We next have Mary Detweiler.
Mary's been active in the chat. I know she's here. How much longer do we want to give her?
She just wrote
a
in
note
the chat.
Ms. Detweiler?
I think that I just saw a chat pop up that said that she can't get into the system. Miss Mary, would you try unmuting yourself? It looks like you're in, but you appear to be on mute. Click the unmute button and you may be able to speak.
Yeah, I also see Mary's square in the room. I think if she could unmute or press the space bar and talk, maybe.
Maybe. Miss Mary, move your mouse down to the left side of your screen, and you'll see a microphone icon that may be raising up with a little green bar. Click that. She's in.
Maybe she could put her comments in the chat. That seems to be working.
Well, Madam Chair, I would prefer that the comments be sent to the email address. Okay. We post them on the website, and you will be able to go to the website now and see comment that has been posted as it has come in.
Okay.
Okay. Do you want us to go to the website right now? Are they posted now?
I don't know if Ms. Detweiler has posted anything yet. Might I suggest it looks like
muted.
Okay. So look at she's unmuted now.
Ms.
This Detweiler, huh?
Well, until we get that fixed, Madam Chair, you want to go to the next person?
Sure, that works.
Okay, that would be Susan Chambers.
You.
Hi, I'm here, Suzanne Chambers, Amherst County. I've waited 20 years for this moment. 3 minutes, 2 minutes. Okay. I live in Amherst County, and I'm also speaking for my NAACP branch 7045. We are split into state district, House District 23 and 24. We have 11 precincts, 2 split precincts, and held elections where we have 15 different ballots for 11 precincts. We have 3 of our 5 Board of Supervisor members have to deal with 2 state delegates to get their jobs done. And arguably all of us as Amherst County residents have to deal with 2 state delegates to get our jobs done. If you go to our state Senate District 23, I live in House Delegate 24. I vote with people who live on the West Virginia border. When you put in our state Senate District 22, I vote with people who live all the way to Short Pump, the whole across the state. We do not have the numbers for either party to ever put up a candidate that can hold a seat. We have no seat at this table ever. And I can point you to the special election that we had to fill Ben Klein's 24 seat, where the Republican primary between Ronnie Campbell and Amherst County's retired sheriff Jimmy Ayers resulted in a tie or maybe a 1 vote,
but it went to the other side of the mountain. I'll take it right up to CD6. We belong to Congressional District 6. It's on the other side of the mountain on Interstate 81. In Amherst, 29 is our interstate, our lifeblood. My head in my picture right now is about the middle of Amherst County. And this is our impediment to the rest of the 24th and the 6th District, the Blue Ridge Mountains and the George Washington National Forest. Essentially, I'm asking you all to consider that you put our county back together and you put us on the right side of the mountain. It's been too long. We've become disinterested, dissatisfied, and people feel like it doesn't matter. And as someone who's worked for a very long time to encourage voting and activism and being a part of this process, I thank you to do that for me. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Chambers. We will keep that in mind.
Okay, Madam Chair, I believe Ms. Detweiler has said that she's going to give up. I would ask Ms. Detweiler to send her comments and we will post them on the website and you all will be able to get them that way. The last person who has signed up is Mr. Craig DeCisa. And I think he may have left the room, but yeah, I think he has left. So I think that would conclude the public comment period, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Wade.
I'm sorry, Madam Chair. This is Shade Capers. I'm the IT specialist for Division of Legislative Services. Amigo, we had one more. It was Mr. Jacobs.
Okay, I'm sorry. I apologize, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair, may I address the panel?
Go right ahead, Mr. Jacobs.
Thank you so much. I do appreciate all you guys are doing. Thank you. I do want to say that I do feel that one district is very not compact. I do consider Senator Favola my friend, but she's way over in Arlington. I'm over here in Herndon on the border of Loudoun County. And she actually, her district extends into Loudoun County. If you know the Northern Virginia area, that would be insane. Also, I noticed that no one here, as I've said in the chat, and I want to make it the public record, that no one here is from Ashburn or Sterling or Broadlands, the area around the new Dulles Metro, the Dulles Corridor, the intellectual corridor of Virginia, which, no offense, all of you guys are very intelligent. I do not want to say that any other part of Virginia is more intelligent than the other, but I'm just saying it's very fastly growing, just like Fredericksburg, and I do appreciate that you guys are recognizing that. But I think that someone should have been from this area where I live, and that does bother me a bit. But I do trust you guys are going to do the best of jobs. And one last thing I will say is that I do hope you guys will use computer systems that will take into account the Voting Rights Act, take into account voter efficiency, and take into account the compactness of the districts, which I've laid out in my public comments. And that's all I wanted to say. Thanks, guys, and good luck. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jacobs.
Madam Chair, just to be sure, I'm going to ask Ms. Capers, do we have anyone else? I think that is all, and I will turn it back over to you to finish up the meeting.
No, sir, we don't have any more.
Okay, thank you. That concludes the public comment, Madam Chair.
Is there any other business that we need to take up? Anything at all that the comments prompted?
Madam Chair, I have a quick question. I thought that is on the software question, and this may be a question for Migo and Meg. I thought that in our before the amendment passed, we had a meeting of the Joint Reapportionment Committee, which used to do this work, and there was some discussion about procurement of a software package to do this. Is that do you have anything that you can share with us yet, or do you want to put that on the agenda for the next meeting? I thought we had made some decisions or there's some sort of RFP that had already been issued for the software piece of this?
Yes, Madam Chair, Delegate Simon. So we have entered into a contract with a software vendor. We are going to be using Citygate GIS. This is a vendor we've used for the past 2 cycles. We did a request for information last 2 Christmases ago now, and received a couple responses. And so we reviewed those. And then because of his expertise and familiarity with Virginia, plus his responses to our questions, we did decide to go with Citygate GIS and got a procurement exemption from the Speaker and the Chair of Rules, Senate Rules. As far as software that might be available to the public, I'm not sure what is available through Citygate GIS, but that's certainly something that we will look into and can provide information on at the next meeting.
Thank you, Ms. Lamb. Is there anything else before we adjourn?
Madam Chair, Senator Newman, does it make sense to empower the 2 chairs working with legislative services to call the next meeting?
I did not hear a lot of that.
Sorry.
Yeah, I didn't catch that either.
Sorry, masked and we were seeing that. Does it make sense that we would empower the 2 chairs along with Mr. Wade to call the next meeting?
I think that makes sense.
Yes.
So do we move to call the next meeting now and we're scheduling it later?
I think what we can do, Madam Chair, is we'll poll the members and then work with you and Ms. Harris to finalize a date and agenda.
Okay. Anything else before we adjourn? Okay.
Yeah, Madam Chair, do we need a motion to adjourn?
I don't know the answer to that. I'm happy. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So
moved. Second.
Okay. All in favor say raise your hands. Say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
So adjourned. It's been a pleasure meeting you all, and I hope to speak to you through email and then see you at the next meeting.
All right. Thank you. Good night.
Great job, Mackenzie.
Good night. Yes.
Bye-bye.